He was a doctor trusted to care for a wealthy old man in his final months. Instead, Dr. Peter Alexakis has been accused of financially exploiting his patient, who changed his will, leaving the GP a deathbed gift of $24 million. And it's not the first time it's happened.
$24 million inherited from a patient? You must have one hell of a bedside manner.
I can't really comment on that.
If I have to express genuine, I think it's terrible.
Is there anything you'd like to say about the windfall that you've received? I mean, the patient changed his will in his dying months to include you and wipe out a few others.
Well, I think you need to read the judgments.
Well, we have all 89 pages of it, and it paints a peculiar tale of Dr. Peter Alexakis, suburban general practitioner and multi-millionaire.
Well, my initial thoughts were, how is it that someone who is not a relation can achieve such a windfall by way of an inheritance?
The doctor who has inherited patients' wealth with the assistance of his own family's lawyer. Do you think you got too close to your patient?
No, I don't.
I guess you've got 24 million reasons to disagree with that assessment.
It's all being disputed.
Fair bit of suspicion, fair bit of innuendo running around, but I guess at the end of the day it all depends on the actual evidence.
Raymond McClure was a millionaire who made his wealth through property. He never married, had no children. This is the only known photo of him. He lived a quiet life in this Strathfield home in Sydney's inner west. Frank Camilleri met Raymond in 1970.
He offers me if I like to get involved into his business by helping him out.
For decades, Frank worked for Raymond as his handyman and gardener. He says for little money, under an agreement he'd be taken care of later.
All the money he have is onto the business, and he said at the end of the day, when we retire, we'll be comfortable.
But now that promise has ended in the courts after Raymond's doctor inherited 90% of his estate in a will made just months before his death.
It's the principle, that all these years look after him, and then when the time comes, and back of my mind is I didn't give my children what they deserve from a father.
At 80 years old, Raymond started seeing Dr. Peter Alexakis in 2014 at the Strathfield Family Medical Centre.
I used to go with Ray to visit the doctor as a patient, and he said, please come with me because sometimes I get uncomfortable with the doctor. And he said, when I go into the room, you come too.
Raymond had diabetes, renal failure, and was later diagnosed with cancer. He was in and out of hospital. During court proceedings, one aged care doctor described Raymond as a highly suspicious person who was particularly concerned about people exploiting him financially. During his life, Raymond had 6 wills, but as his illness progressed, his dying wishes started to change. In 2016, he left his entire estate, minus his household contents, to the Salvation Army. But just over a year later, it changed, cutting out the salvos in favour of Dr. Alexakis, who was to receive 65% of the estate, Frank 25%, and another friend and her daughter 5% each. Fed up with being in hospital, at the end of June 2017, Raymond, with the assistance of Dr. Alexakis, moved home, where the doctor continued to visit him almost daily. The next month, another will change. This time, Dr. Alexakis was left a whopping 90% of Raymond's estate, including the Strathfield property. Frank's share now down to just 9%. Friend Hildegard 1%, and $10,000 to his carer. Just 4 months later, in November 2017, Raymond died. The court was told Frank and Hildegard attended Raymond's funeral, but made no mention of whether Dr. Alexakis was there. Lawyer Sam Macedoni.
It is shocking to think that a doctor of a patient could inherit that much money.
Since Raymond McClure's death, his will has been hotly contested by the Salvation Army, Frank and the other friend, who all feel shortchanged. They argued in court Dr. Alexakis used undue influence to exploit Raymond for financial gain. But ultimately, the court found there was no influence at play. The trio appealed, but again, the New South Wales Court of Appeal found the doctor is entitled to the money.
The ethics test is one thing, but the law is another.
Court documents obtained by A Current Affair paint a close relationship between the pair during Raymond's final months. When Raymond was admitted to hospital in 2017, Dr. Alexakis continued to visit him up to 6 times a week. And when Raymond said he needed a lawyer to update his will, Dr. Alexakis suggested his own family's lawyer, the lawyer who manages his wife's affairs, including millions of dollars in businesses and properties, including this Harbourview mansion and this 5-star resort in Greece. Now there's more money coming to the doctor and his wife.
But you've just won on the Court of Appeal that this $24 million windfall is going to come your way.
There's more to come.
We caught up with Dr. Alexakis after a shift at his clinic.
Will you be giving some of this money to the Salvos? They were the main beneficiary before he changed his will.
I'm not really able to discuss that with you. Look at the issues of the child sex abuse within institutions.
Do you think the Salvos don't deserve
So
it?
do you support child sexual abuse in institutions?
While the doctor won in the Court of Appeal, he wasn't so lucky with the Healthcare Complaints Commission. It found him guilty of professional misconduct for blurring the boundaries of the doctor-patient relationship.
You think he's a nice man and so on, but at the back of his mind, and then we learn more about him, that he done this before.
That's right, this isn't the first time Dr. Alexakis has inherited money from a patient. In 2014, another patient died and the doctor, his sole beneficiary, banked $86,000. Though Dr. Alexakis didn't know he was in the will until after his patient died. That will also drawn up by the Alexakis family lawyer.
You do a lot of things for client and you get them out of a lot of strife from time to time, but you certainly don't expect to be part of their will. And if they want to buy you a cake or a can of beer or a bottle of wine, that's fine. But I don't want anyone to leave me $24 million. I'd rather earn it.
What would that money mean to you?
It means a lot because my children are not too bad, settled down, but I would like to help my grandchildren.
What are you going to do with the $24 million windfall?
Law and what's morally right don't always line up, do they?